A lot of us have been Pokemon fans since we were very, very early on in our youth, and I do not think that any of us in our entire time as being Pokemon fans have seen anything like this Terra leak. I'm gonna have to make a ton of videos on this because there's so much content, whether it comes to cut content from the past or future content that we are not gonna hear about for maybe probably another year, possibly ever again. So today I want to go in depth, talk about these Pokemon Gen 10 leaks. Apparently we've got some leaks about it being in ancient Greece, about it being on a floating island, for it to revolutionize the series, being developed around the anime. So without further ado, let's get into it. And if you guys want to see more videos like this, make sure to subscribe because I do more than just cover leaks. Yeah, here we are, Centroleaks, whether you love them or hate them, okay? You can see right here, for all those just tuning in, we are currently covering the Game Freak Terra leak. Lots of source files and beta content for past Pokemon games are currently leaking, along with new details for upcoming projects. We expect more information to be uncovered in the coming hours and days. High quality of the e-reader cards. Whoa. Yeah, look at all this shit, guys. Look at the Scraggy, Beta Scraggy, Beta Palpitoad. Look at all these beta Pokemon, people. Why do I like this way better? I like this way better. I like this way better than the actual Simisear. Okay, this is what we want. Interesting information about Gaia Gen 10. This is from a meeting between Game Freak and the anime staff. They are talking about how the current anime has little synergy with Titan, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, which is true if you've watched Horizons, and instead is heading into a Gaia-like direction. No idea what this means for Gaia, honestly. It's much up for interpretation. They talk about how the current anime has a similar atmosphere to Gaia and possibly due to developing the game alongside it. Okay, so this has really interesting ramifications. Like, if you've watched Horizons, you know that they do not spend that much time in Paldea. The most recent arc is probably what we're gonna get for Generation 9. It seems like they're already going into, like, the Generation 10 concepts, okay, which is insane. But we have had no information on any Pokemon games other than Pokemon Legends ZA for like a year, okay, and it was supposed to come out this year from these leaks, okay, so apparently it got delayed to come out around the time of the new Nintendo Switch. All right, it's gonna release on the old Switch, and you can play it on the new system. Damn. So let's look at this. I am slightly concerned because even in a Kakaku, I'm gonna get roasted for that, Zygarde's normal form appears. The placement of its appearance worries me a bit. It might be better time to introduce Mega Zygarde or something similar later. Mega Zygarde? That would be, well, that does make sense. You know what I mean? It's Legends ZA. Like, were they not gonna do that? I feel like they're choosing things based on color. How can we create synergy with the surprise element of Mega Evolutions in the game and anime? I'd like them to push it back as much as possible, bringing in Zygarde later. Rather than saying don't include this Pokemon, we should focus on timing and consistency in their appearances. Since we removed the island hopping aspect, there is no more worry about cannibalization, but I'm still worried about the school setting disappearing completely. It's tragic that we start going to school because we want to, but then suddenly we can't go anymore. I can understand a kid who doesn't want to go to school goes on an adventure, but the synergy with Titan is lacking, so it might be nice to have more school segments along the way. It feels like such a wasted opportunity overall. I don't understand why we're skipping Titan and instead heading in a Gaia-like direction. Making it alongside Gaia risks creating a similar atmosphere. So the reason why the anime staff is working with all these new concepts is because these are probably some concepts that we're going to see in the new game. Like, it's probably going to be like an island exploration game. Wow, people. New hint from Kuo about Pokemon's Gaia's region. Too much water. Yeah, it's definitely going to be about ancient Greece, which, if anybody wanted Australia, you're fucked, okay? Alright, so it seems like as this video is being made, it seems like the Pokemon Company is officially coming after Centroleaks. Game Freak Giggly confirms Ounce is the codename of the Switch 2. Pokemon Gaia Gen 10 codenamed is being developed for Ounce. So it seems like Pokemon Legends ZA, again, being developed for the Nintendo Switch, the old consoles to release alongside the new console. Kind of like how the old Pokemon games came out on the Nintendo DS when the 3DS came out in 2011. That's when Pokemon Black and White came out. Pokemon Black and White 2 could have been on the Nintendo 3DS, but they instead decided to put it on the DS and put Pokemon X and Y on the 3DS. So obviously, what we just saw was a little bit in depth of what's going on with Pokemon Generation 10. There is not that much info on these games. There isn't that much info on Legends ZA either. I believe that they actually have a build of the game, but they aren't leaking it because they're holding Centro hostage. They want Centro to go down, so they're putting out a hit on Centro in order to get these Pokemon Legends ZA leaked. But Pokemon Generation 10, I was going to make a video about this even before these leaks came out. First of all, we have the Switch 2 codename, Ounces, and apparently that is when this new Pokemon game is going to come out. When the system releases next year, I believe you're going to be able to play Pokemon Legends ZA on the Nintendo Switch on the brand new console, just so they can sell it for both systems. Speaking of both systems, apparently this new Pokemon game will not only be on the Switch 2, but it will be on the Switch. This probably sets some repercussions for the Switch 2 if it is correct, because it means we actually are getting a higher quality Switch, and it's not going to be deviating away too much from the original Switch line, and they're going to continue with the Switch legacy. We also know that ancient Greece is somehow involved, okay? Whether it is a floating island archipelago, an island archipelago, a single island, something related to ancient Greece, this is going to be the next theme for the next Pokemon game. We can see it in Pokemon Horizons. You do not spend that much time in school. You do not spend that much time battling gyms. You spend most of the time adventuring, capturing Pokemon, and battling Pokemon. I would not be surprised if the Island Challenge, or maybe some sort of like Olympic Greek Challenge, would be replacing the Gym Challenge this time. I think it's finally time for us to get rid of the Gym Challenge again and experiment with different concepts. That isn't the only thing though, because again, this whole video and this video's thumbnail is about a floating island. I've seen a lot around about a floating island or an island archipelago being a thing for Pokemon Generation 10. We saw that Ku said that the game had too much water, very similar to Hoenn. So I don't necessarily think it is going to be a floating island, but I think it is going to be an island. Because you do remember in Greek mythology, there are the floating islands above wherever it is. Okay, there's floating islands, Greek islands filled with nature, filled with all these things, filled with Olympic gods and champions and trials. So you guys can tell me if I'm wrong about that in the comments, but I learned about that in the 8th grade. And they definitely talked about floating islands. I definitely saw a lot of people talking about that with these leaks as well. I also find it very funny that I am in an eSports Illustrated looking at these leaks right now. To be truthful, it's really hard to find the very small sliver of Pokemon Generation 10 information to the massive amount of information we got from former Pokemon games and about Typhlosion himself. Like, okay, the Pokemon Company is a buzz. So obviously we've talked about this. Game Freak Giga Leak confirms Ounce is the codename of the Switch 2. Interesting info about Gaia. We have information about the Greek region. So I literally had to come to eSports Illustrated to learn about this Greek region. So ancient Greece seems like it is going to be the next big Pokemon region. This painting is entitled Street Midday. It depicts a beautiful town in a different region. Okay, so maybe a floating island, ancient island, might be a little bit of a stretch, but islands, floating islands, an island archipelago, something separate from the rest of the Pokemon world for Pokemon Generation 10. Pokemon Gaia and Generation 10 are what, well, that's how you know it's a fucking esports article, because they think they are two different versions, Generation 10 and Gaia. Are likely to set in a region inspired by Greece. One clue that it is Gaia is that is the name of an earth goddess in ancient Greek mythology. In addition, the Game Freak hacked information indicates that Pokemon Gaia will allegedly travel through an archipelago and visit multiple islands where they encounter unique Pokemon. Greece contains an archipelago in real life, spanning across the Mediterranean Sea. Another Pokemon leak, Riddler Coup on X.com, hinted about the project having too much water, which could reference the sea. The last clue about Pokemon Generation 10, Greece, lies in an unexpected place, the Pokemon Scarlet and Violet's trainer house. The building contains a mysterious painting called Street Midday. The painted street has characteristic Mediterranean white and rust orange colors along the blocky buildings with flower boxes. When the player interacts with this painting, the text box states it depicts a beautiful town in a different region. Could this region be Pokemon Gen 10 setting? Only time will tell. So they're kind of reaching with this. I could see this being Pokemon Generation 10. They always do tend to tease the next region in the previous game. Like we had Baraja teasing the next region or another region when they were released in Pokemon Generation 8. But there's a lot to be interpreted here, people. But there is not a lot of information. One thing you guys have to understand when you are looking at all this information is to take it with a grain of salt, especially with information about new games. A lot of this stuff is subjected to change. I wouldn't see a lot of it changing drastically, considering that the Pokemon Company looks to be investing very heavy into its animated in-games future, really trying to expand the Pokemon universe. And you can see from these leaks that Game Freak has been wanting to expand the franchise for a long time, and it is the Pokemon fans that held it back. I guess it's another video that we could talk about another time. This was a video that didn't really have a certain topic. I just kind of wanted to ramble and talk a lot about the information, new topics that we came to see. But if you guys want to see more Pokemon content, whether we're talking about the leaks and the Terra leak, or whether we're doing nostalgia-based Pokemon content, I have a documentary releasing next month about Pokemon Crystal, so you're not going to want to miss it.